We are 14 hours away from our first lockout and our first game over in Vegas. Second year for Vegas, which is going to be plenty of fun. And can you guys believe this is my 6th year on YouTube? 6th season anyway. And we're coming up to 5 years fully on YouTube. So thank you so much to everyone who is here. We hit 13,000 subscribers the other day, which is absolutely wild. And I do appreciate this is a pretty well-watched video. So I do want to take the time to thank all of you for being here and participating in what we're doing over here. And the private group has exceeded all expectations this year. And that is a testament to you guys for putting in the effort and giving me some feedback on how to improve it over the last few years. And this is year number 3. And you will 100% find out that this is the best crew and the best group that you can be in. No one else out there is providing well over $5,000 in cash prizes and the like to go along with the advice from, we've got 3 top 10 players in there from last year. We've got multiple, top 20, top 50 finishing guys in there that are helping everyone out. All the analysis I've put in the preseason, and you get to see my full team reveal. So if you want that before Vegas, come on in. All the info is in the description for that. Please make sure you do check out Full-Time Sports Bar and Eatery on Instagram. You'll see the pin post there. Pop in fantasy into that comment if you are a New Zealand resident, because you can go into the chance if you win the league, you get an all expenses paid little sesh there at Magic Round next year. So go and check that one out and do subscribe and follow along, guys. But we're going to reveal one player at a time and reveal a couple of players from Vegas that I've been thinking about heavily and I actually have decided not to take. All right, it was really sad just hitting clear just then, because I'm going to have to put this all back together straight after this video and make sure the team is valid. Because as you'll see up here, guys, thankfully it does give you that note. Your team is currently invalid and will not score for the next round. Please ensure you complete your team and select your C and VC before lockout. You must have the full 21 in the salary cap set before tomorrow. If you don't, you will not score any points. So I will jump in and make sure I finish that straight after this. But if you did see my 7 players that I've locked in for the season come round 1 video, then you will notice and you will know that I did have the GOAT, Isaiah Yeo. He's in the side. And what do you reckon, guys? A little C. All preseason I've been talking about Isaiah Yeo as captain for round 1. And at the moment, I'm pretty 50-50, but for now, he's going to sit there with the captaincy. I will make this decision tomorrow. The rest of the team, I am set in terms of Vegas players tomorrow, but I think Isaiah Yeo is a terrific candidate for a captaincy. We've seen guys like him, guys like Payne Haas be really, really dominant in first few rounds, especially. And I do think with Isaiah Yeo, that the consistency that you can get from him can definitely outweigh the injury risks that you do have from guys like Cleary. He hasn't had too much of a preseason with his shoulder being rehabbed. He's had surgery on it, guys, in the offseason. And we know he can be really dominant in this side, especially next to Jack Cole in terms of the kicking. But how's this team going to go against the Sharks? The Sharks are meant to be a really, really strong outfit. And I do think the base stats are going to be really strong from Cleary. I'm also expecting some missed tackles from Nath. So I think there's a definite world where you can captain Isaiah Yeo in round 1. And right now I'm 50-50. Every time I've made a team, Isaiah Yeo's been sitting there with the captaincy on, and it's felt and looked great. And Cleary has the tremendous upside, and we know that for round 1. So let's go and click him, Mr. Nathan Cleary. He's definitely in my side. And right now he's going to sit there with the vice captaincy. But both these guys, you put them in your team for different reasons. You put Isaiah Yeo in for not getting injured, for the consistency that you see when you look at all these scores, and you just know what you're going to get out of him. And that's awesome. And it does cost a lot of money at $865, but it brings me so much assurance and insurance for things going poorly. And when you have 21 players in your squad, if you can have sort of that 4 to 5 guys that you feel very, very safe owning, you know what points you're going to get for them, you can make the trades and do lots of different things with your side strategy-wise around these types of players. And Isaiah Yeo and Cleary are going to be the 2 expensive players I do own in my side, and I feel very, very comfortable owning those 2 guys. In terms of the captaincy, Cleary hasn't done well the last couple of round 1s. The year before that, he was really, really good, or his first game back anyway. And he definitely has the tremendous upside. It's over in Vegas as well, so I think that he'll get up for the big game. But they're missing, Luai. It's massive for him. And we very much know he's a big game player, though. And that's where the Vegas worries do lie. But he's coming up against, a really strong left-hand side. You've got Trindle there. You've got Teague Wilton. You've got guys like Kale Iro, very strong runners of the footy, along with Ronaldo Mulatalo. And Hines going to be sweeping that side as well. So how are they going to go defensively? He's going to have, Isaac Tungo next to him, who had a pretty up and down season, to be fair, and he does have Liam Martin, which is good to see on that right hand side there. But they will have a different winger on that side as well. So there's a few bits and pieces that lend you to say that Yo could be the best captaincy tomorrow, but the other side says Cleary has the most upside. And yeah, which way do you go? Do you want the safe captain, or do you want the guy that could hit 100, 110? Do you want the guy that's probably going to get 65? Or do you want the guy that could go anywhere from injury to 50 to 75 to that 100, which is probably unlikely against the Sharks, but he has that upside, and that's what you need to think about. All right, let's talk about the guy I haven't selected, and that is the great Corey Horsburgh. As of yesterday, he was in my side. As of this morning, I decided to have a chat to the great Mitch. We had a bit of a phone conversation while I was heading to work. I had a long drive heading into Sydney, so I was like, well, I need to sort out this team. I haven't been able to tinker too much, and that's something to note as well, guys. In terms of my squad, I spend basically the whole preseason analysing players, helping you guys out, and a lot less on my side. So I was really glad I could have that moment and a bit of time today to go through it. And what I've come to the conclusion with is that last year I didn't trust my gut on certain players, and that really hurt me. It hurt my soul and it hurts my scoring in my team. So this is a situation this year where I want to make sure I go into round one selecting the players that I feel like I could regret. And Horsburgh, in the end, I really like him, but he's not one of those guys that I think I'll regret from round one. I think with him in the prop role, we know generally what we're going to get from him. I'm expecting somewhere between, personally, the 45 to the 55 minute mark. And if it's over that 50 mark, he has pretty well close to that 10 points of value. If it's a tick under the 50 mark, then it's a little bit of value. The big one where we want Horsburgh is if he was to play 13. So for me, in the end, he's not someone I've had in my team all preseason or someone I've been super excited about at 550k, just because we don't know exactly how many minutes he's going to get. In Supercoach, he's 355k, and it's an absolute must-have steal. But in Fantasy, at 550k, there are some other avenues around that price that you can go. So Corey Horsburgh, at the moment, is not in my side, and I don't think he's going to make it. But as of yesterday and last night, he was in my side. So let that speak for itself in what it is. If we do end up getting him in a 13 role, or if he's going to be a hybrid prop and 13, and he does get closer to the 55 to 60 minutes, then we can pivot and we can get him in. He's going to be under 600k by that point. And he doesn't have, in my opinion, the ridiculous upside into the 70s. If he can definitely get into the 60s, but it's usually when he's in that lock role. At prop, he's only had that 5 to 6 games there, and yes, he scored really well, but he's also had 2 tries in that time. So looking at those stats, it does skew it a bit, and the PPM is closer to the 0.9 to 0.95. All reports says he's absolutely killing it, and I can't wait to watch him. He's the one guy that I'm missing out in my round one side that I am definitely nervous about, but I think he doesn't have that 70 plus upside. So if he does go out and get a 55 tomorrow, it'll be annoying. It'll be frustrating because he's priced at 40.6, but it won't end my world and cause me to fall to my knees in tears. That is for sure. So that's where we're at with Horsburgh. In his place, it has happened. Zac Hosking. Although, doesn't want to pick him, apparently. Apparently not. There he is. What did I type wrong? Zac Hosking. He's in my side come tomorrow. The reason being, he has that ridiculous upside. And I went back, a video I did even 3 weeks ago. I was saying, come the end of last year, I was like, well, Hosking's going to come in once he, retired for the year, basically, after those injuries, which he had a lot last year, and that's the worry with him, for sure, is the injuries. But I did say, if he is available in round 1, fit and ready to go, I would take him, and he would be close to a must-have. That was my words. So I'm looking at that, and I remember that, and I said all this at the end of last season. And if I'm sitting here coming into this, not trusting my gut, thinking that Hosking was a terrific buy come round 1 this year, then I'm lying to myself, and we don't want to do that. We definitely don't want to do that. So in that scenario, Hosking has a couple of 90s in his game. He has a 69 in round 1 last year. The right side is the dominant side for the Raiders, obviously with Fogarty there. And he starts the year really, really well. When he's not banged up, he plays his best. When he starts to get banged up, things go a little bit awry. And for Hosking, he's definitely one of those guys that we could use as a stepping stone as well, considering we are worried about how many games that he does get injured and how many games he finishes. I'm worried about the minutes, for sure, but the upside's there. And that's what we're looking at. It's very, very unlikely that he goes, even if he gets 60-odd minutes, that he goes, 58, he shouldn't get under 60 minutes, you'd imagine. But if he gets that 65 minutes, then you would expect that he at least makes his break even and hits something in the 40s. We know in these types of games that it can be a little bit less free-flowing over in Vegas. It's very fast, I should say, in terms of the free-flowingness. It's a bit more like Origin style, the way that they referee it. And that means he's going to get runs, he's going to get tackles. And we saw good run meters in those games for him last year near the 100-meter mark. So for Hosking, I'm picking him for what I said earlier, and I don't want to regret it again like last year. So I've decided that instead of Horsburgh, I'm going to go the extra 32K and get Hosking with the potential for the big scores. For you guys out there, if you didn't have that conviction at the end of last year and say that, you didn't say it 3 weeks ago like I did, then don't take him, I don't think. We don't see Matty Nicholson yet. I think he'll build up into some time. And Sasangi, there's an interesting stat out there, and thanks to Liam for pointing this one out, that there was games that Sasangi played off the bench last year, and he came on and played 20-odd minutes, whatever it was. And in the majority of those games, I think it was 3/4 or above, we saw both edge back rowers play 80 minutes or 70 plus. So there is a chance that he still goes for the big minutes. And there's obviously, Sasangi on that bench that if it ends up that way, there's a bit of a rumor floating around apparently that in Discords and stuff. So take it for what you will, that Trey Mooney might come onto the bench for Simi Sasangi. And if that was the case, then I think Hosking's ownership goes up even higher. But even with Sasangi there's a chance that he goes for big minutes. If there's an injury in the outside backs, we will see Sasangi go out there and Hosking go the full distance. That's the other thing with Horsburgh. If we see Smithies get injured, or if we see an injury in an edge player as well, you may see Sasangi go there. You may see Horsburgh go to lock. There's different things like that where he can get those big minutes. But again, that's a week-to-week proposition. And if things work out that way with Hosking or Horsburgh, you can easily pivot to them and make a trade for them, near 600K or under 600K. Fish is another one that obviously Mitch is really high on. I personally have Horsburgh, Hosking, and Fish in a very similar boat. I personally think that Hosking has that little bit more upside. Horsburgh has the higher scores as well, and that's where I'm looking at those two, but I understand Fish is really, really safe as well. All right, we move on to the next man on our list, and it is Luke Metcalf. So he's an exciting player, obviously, and I did just see an interesting couple of thoughts on him, and I probably want to just try and dispel that a little bit. It's probably hard to see CHT coming in and kicking for more than half the meters. Like I can see a split happening for sure, but when you've got Metcalf kicking multiple 40-20s in the 2 trial matches, he has to run this team for the most part. And if they're on the left-hand side of the field when they finish their set, then of course CHT is going to kick. Why wouldn't he? He's a left foot kicker. They're already over that side, and Metcalf isn't a straight dominant kicker. So that's one thing. But when you're running the side, very different to that of 6, you will see that you will end up with some more try assists. Fogarty, with him running the side, he kicks for tries. There's try assists involved in that. He obviously has the increase in kick meters in general, which Metcalf will have. He's got the goals there. And having your hands on the footy more often is going to mean good things. And that trial the other day was a little bit hard to judge. You had Tomato Martin come on and play some decent minutes and play the 7 role when Metcalf went off and did some kicking there. And CHT, plenty of sets where they finished on the left-hand side, so he kicked. But in that first trial, he kicked plenty. So you can take a bit out of it. I think CHT will take some kicking meters, and I think that he's an interesting purchase for those that want to go down that route. But Metcalf, it's not very often you get a dominant 7 in a team like this where they've had dominant 7 in the past in Sean Johnson, absolutely go really, really well. It's very hard to get someone at 441k to be the dominant 7 in a side. We've seen it with guys like Tanner Boyd. If you're buying him at anywhere near 400k, he pushed himself all the way up into the late 5s to 600 mark and did an incredible job. And yes, he had majority of the kicking. He played with 4 and he kicked only a little bit. Luke Metcalf has the potential to explode this year, and I'm not going to be sitting there going, wait, hold on. Yes, he could go poor. Like every other player, they could go poor, right? But I don't want to sit here and go, wow, I didn't pick Metcalf. That was the most obvious thing ever. Because 80% of the chance, he comes out and he does really well and is exactly what you want in a dominant 7, in an okay team. Like the Warriors will be okay. I think it's going to be a close game in Vegas, and I don't want to be not a part of that. So Metcalf comes into the side. It's a pretty good 4. I'm liking that. Isaiah Yeo, we got Hosking, we got Cleary, and we got Metcalf. It's going to be funny. Am I actually going to be able to remember all of the players? So we got the Wars, we got the Raiders. Oh yeah. Now let's move to Hot Tamale. He does make it into the side, and I am actually going to start him. I was talking about looping him, and I have decided that I'm going to scrap that idea. I think he keeps a spot, personally, and there's definitely risk involved with it, and a lot of people are saying that as well, and I completely understand. Albert Hopewadi, he trialled at centre in the first trial with the B graders, so be aware of that. You could look at that and go, oh, well, he wasn't going to be, he's not going to be around, he's going to be there, he's not going to be there come round 1, so therefore he's just trialling early with those guys, and then the other players are going to trial. But in their main trial, so Albert Hopewadi, he trialled at centre in the B grade team. He then trialled off the bench with the main team and came on and played centre. And Tamale only played like 25 minutes in that game, right? So that's where you need to look at that and go, well, I think he's fairly safe. And I'm actually more worried about Jack Cole at the moment, personally. Not that it's going to play out. It's all luck. We don't know. We're not the coaches, right? But I think Tamale's got the spot more locked down than Jack Cole does. Not sure if that's a hot take or not, or if they're both probably as risky as each other. But I think Tamale is a really, really good person to have in your side. And if you don't, I completely understand. He's at 300k. He's not 250. And he has some risk. We haven't seen him bar 1 game in first grade. But his New South Wales Cup stats are incredible. Even at centre, it's not his best position, but he hits hits in the early 30s in centres. But at wing, it's crazy. It's over 50. So those type of fantasy scorers are very, very hard to come by. And I'm not going to die trying. I'm not going to die without him in my side. So Tamale, he's inside. I'm just going to play him straight up. He's got a dual position. If things don't work in round 1, I'll pivot from him with some cash that I do have available. Pretty crazy that we are 3 million in from 5 players, but 2.768 from 4 players is pretty fun. That's for sure. And now in my 5 slot, I will have Jack Cole. I'm running the gauntlet on this one. I'm a little bit worried at how this one's going to play out. Can you move him down? Nah, sad. Let's move him down on this list while we're talking. So Jack Cole, he's going to sit in the 5 slot, guys, and that means we will see how he goes. With Jack, if he scores really well, I'm thinking sort of 40 plus, 45, 50. We'll see how it plays out. I'll try and loop him in. Right now, to be transparent with you, I don't have any Titans players in my side. I'm going to see how things go tomorrow with Jack Cole and then go in and make a further decision from there. That's where I'm sitting with this one. Jack, with that spot, it's not locked in, but Talangi's coming back from injury, which means, for a guy that's only played a handful of first grade games, is he going to be locked into that side coming straight back in once he's completely recovered from injury? I don't think so. He's going to be that 6 long term, but Papali'i's come over this side and he's starting off the bench and he's a Jet and he's played for years and years and years and showed that he's a New Zealand international and he's been the Dalian back row of the year, I believe, at least one of those 2 years at the Eels. So if he can't even make this starting side, then it's going to be harder for a rookie, basically, to make this starting side coming back from injury. So that's where I'm hoping that Cole at least has the spot for a month. And knowing his stats in the 5'8" slot, he's over a 40 average, and we're just going to have to take that punt. I'm not super excited about who he comes up against this week. They're going to target him a lot, which means he's going to make a lot of tackles. But overall, we know that he sort of makes 20 odd and misses like 5, but he can get some good stats. He's going to have games where he misses 5, for example, but there's others that he hits a 3 missed tackles for 25 and you're in luck, and he's basically made his break even just in tackles before he runs the footy and has all these weapons on his left-hand side. So Cole, I think, is a guy that I'm going to slot in at that loop slot, see how it plays out in round 1, see if he keeps his spot, and if he doesn't, again, leaving some cash in the bank to be able to make a pivot, or he's going to play at some point. There's going to be injuries. That's for sure. Talangi might, be slow to come back. If he doesn't play round 2, I now have a looper. There's different ways you need to think about it heading into round 1. Now let me just check that I have got this correctly, to be honest with you. But in terms of the Panthers, I'm pretty well set with Isaiah Yeo and Cleary. Sharks, I'm all good. With the Raiders, it's Hosking and Tamale. Some people are going Starling, and I think that's a pretty solid pick as well. Also, just wanted to talk about the news that sounds like Riley Smith from Parramatta, the young hooker that I'm so excited about. He's potentially doing some reps at starting hooker at the moment. He's just been upgraded to development contract, which is awesome. And for those asking about guys like Lehigh Hopewadi, yes, he's still not in fantasy because he's on a development contract. So until he's named round 1, then we'll see him in fantasy this year. That's why you had him last year when he was actually named. This year, anyone who's on a development contract won't be in the game. So you won't see Riley Smith in the game either. It makes complete sense for that as well. In terms of the Raiders, they're the team that there's obviously a bunch of options. Jamal Foggy is a really cool one. We've got Horsburgh, we've got Timoko, and Starling, the guys you kind of will look at from that side there. From the Wars, I think you're going to see a really, really good season from Ale Leataua. And it's going to be fun. I'm personally not going for Aaron Clark. I haven't talked him up too much all preseason. I think he'll be solid for sure in that starting side. Roger, I'm seeing in a bunch of teams. Fish and Barnett, really solid options as well. Just not going to be for me. I'm taking Yo and I'm taking Hosking in this one as my middles and my edges, and I'm excited about that. And from the Panthers, we're all set, and we're not taking anyone from the Sharks at this point. They're very, very settled. So these are all of the players. There's only 6 of them that are locked in for me in those 2 games. Well, I say only 6, but they're very relevant teams, obviously, and you could easily have 7, 8 and not be a problem. Like you could easily see you have Hosking and Horse. You could have Horse and Fish. You could have Hosking and Fish, something like that. You could have Starling in this one for sure. You could have Nico Hines as well. There's a bunch of different players you can lock into your side. But I'm going 3 Panthers, 2 Raiders, and 1 Warrior. Heading into Vegas, it leaves me 15 players to muck around with for the rest of my side. And I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. So if you are interested in seeing the full team reveal before Vegas, then come on in to the description. Check out all the stuff that's in there. Plenty of prizes. I've closed up the head-to-head leagues. So I've reduced the prices for that already to reflect that, which is cool. But jump in, guys. You won't be disappointed in there. We've had 75% of the people from last year jump back in this year. So a terrific churn rate, as they say in the business world. So yeah, that's what I'm most proud of, is that people want to come back and they want to support, and they obviously enjoy what they're getting. So helped plenty of people go really well last year. We had 8th, we had 9th, we had 21st, we had 26 out of 200 people that were in the crew. So come on in, think about joining that. I'd really appreciate that. And just send me a message if you've got any questions. And if you do have further questions, I'm in the private group answering a lot of people's questions on that. But then we will be having Nikki in there each week answering your questions. So if you want to ask a question of him, that will get answered during the week there as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and listening. You're all the best, and I can't wait for these games tomorrow. Let's go.